Welcome, 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 welcome. So nice to be with each of you. And I just want to let everyone know what an honor it is to do the work that I do and to be able to share in this way with you and to meet with you also in such an intimate space. It's really a beautiful thing and truly a gift. I want to thank you. I want to thank the divine. I thank my teachers for allowing this to be possible, for making this possible. So truly, it's such a pleasure. I was reflecting a little bit with my daughter earlier today. I have a lot of friends who they've been in the building trades and they're kind of roughneck kind of guys, and after you do that for 20 plus years, your back gets kind of beat up and you don't really want to work anymore. And I think a lot of people get into this, they have a job that isn't in alignment with their truth or their highest. And so it's really depleting for them. And I was just reflecting the other day what just a beautiful life that I have and that I can share with my family and I can share with each of you. And so thank you. Thank you for being a part of that. Yeah. Sometimes we forget how fortunate we are. How fortunate. And I'm going to, again, invite all of you to join the Kripalu retreat coming up in less than 2 weeks, or maybe 2 weeks, July 16th through the 21st. If you can join, that's wonderful. And being able to go on retreat is such an incredible gift, such a gift. And I look back on my life and I went on, literally hundreds of retreats and have taught, many retreats. And there's never a retreat I went on where I was like, oh, geez, that was a waste of time. Like I was always just blown away and so utterly thankful that I went. And, in this world, we're just always so busy, always running here and there. And it is a gift, and it's a gift that our body needs to be able to stop, to unplug, to unhook completely. And retreat is one way, but like I just went on a drive across the West, basically from Colorado to Oregon and California and then back. And when you drive across these vast, expansive deserts, it does something to your mind, to your consciousness. It really opens us up in a way that, well, historically, our body and our brain, our nervous system is wired to be open, is wired to be silent, is wired to have these periods of our day where we're just experiencing the hugeness of life. If you can even imagine just the time before electricity, so a couple hundred years ago, we had a lot of time just gazing up at the stars, gazing at the mountains, gazing at the moon. And my wife and daughter and I, we were just driving home from the hot springs last night. And we looked up, we saw the moon. We said, oh, wow, is it a full moon? It's like, I don't know, but it sure is big. And it just takes your breath away. And that's one of the gifts of being on retreat, is we really unplug from everything in life and we dive deep. We dive deep into our spiritual nature. And so if you can come to the in-person retreat, we'd love to have you. And if not, I'm sure I'll see most of you sometime in August. I'll be having a retreat. I just got to find a date. So, okay. I wanted to share something just, Tawny sent this to me, and I guess it's a poem, and I'm never much of a poetry kind of guy, but this one I really like. Unfortunately, it's an unknown author, so if someone figures it out, they can post it in the chat, or we can give credit at some point. The wise healer said to the soul, "It's not your back that hurts, but the burden you carry. It's not your eyes that hurt, but the injustice you see. It's not your head that hurts, but your thoughts. It's not your throat, but that which you dare not to say. It's not your belly that hurts, but that you cannot digest what is happening around you. It's not your liver that hurts, but the anger inside of you. It's not your heart that hurts, but the love." And then there's like a couple dots after love. And it's this love, our own love, and the acknowledgement of what is true that can heal this pain. Truth, the most powerful medicine. And I thought, boy, that's so beautiful. So that's from Tawny, and she's on the island of Kauai right now. And it's this love, our own love, and acknowledgement of what is true that can heal this pain. Truth, the most powerful medicine. Yeah, so why don't we just close our eyes for a couple minutes, just journeying inward. I invite you to feel into your heart, feel into your body, and just notice in this very moment, are you carrying, holding any type of burden? Any type of burden. And if so, I invite you just to gently breathe into that burden. And on the exhale, let us give this burden back to life. Give it back to God. Whether it's a rush to get here, maybe a struggle, a fight we're having in a relationship, or general tension or anxiety toward life. Let's just take some deep breaths into our heart, into our belly. And again, just get comfortable. You can shut down the eyes and just breathe and feel. Just letting go. So satsang is when we come together in truth. It's hard to get in contact with the truth if we're carrying around a big heavy weight. Taking some deep, full breaths, deep, full exhales, and just letting go of anything we may be struggling with, tripping over. Sometimes it's just that we hold our politics too tightly. Sometimes it's we hold yesterday too tightly. We hold on to we grasp at the future, and whatever it is. We soften, we release, and breathing deep and full into the lower belly. Sometimes we're afraid to feel in the heart because there's heaviness there. And again, satsang is time for us to reconnect with the truth. So let us take a couple more deep breaths, just letting go of any confused thoughts or confused emotions, confused mentality or confused vitality. Then I invite you to take a deep breath and just join me up. Imagine like you're diving deep into the center of your heart, all the way back toward the spine. There's this point, very silent point. It almost feel like a doorway of bodhicitta. You're opening to this quiet goodness, this divinity. We're opening to that which is good and that which is true. Right here in the center of our heart. Right here in the center of our heart. I'll invite you just to descend inward. The center of the heart. So breathing and feeling and softening. Opening the space of innate goodness. Feeling your goodness. Sometimes when we feel our goodness, it brings up such a tenderness. It brings tears to our eyes, and that's okay. Sometimes it's tears of joy, sometimes it's tears of remembering, sometimes it's tears of letting go. Just let it all come. Let it all come as we're descending inward. This innate goodness that you are. This innate beauty that you are. That you are. And if you feel into this heart of yours, again, deep, going deep right to the center, this innate goodness, this beauty, and there is also simultaneously this quality of ever-present freedom. Ever-present freedom. Freedom, spaciousness. And again, you can allow this spaciousness kind of soften things up and give you a greater view. Sometimes we're just stuck in our head and our thinking mind, or we're stuck in the churning of our emotional nature. When you come to the lotus of the heart, like the inner cavern, even though we're focusing to come right there into the center, it's almost like we focus for a moment and then awareness is blown wide open, vast, spacious, and free, innately good. letting go of any story of the past or the future. And we're opening. We're opening. Deeply. Fully opening. Again, some of you would be helpful if you let go a little more fully in the lower belly, the solar plexus. Sometimes we grip and we fight there. We're opening this realm of bodhicitta. This quality of ever-present awareness, vast, spacious, and free, totally good and whole and complete. And we're remembering. This is what we do at Satsang also, is we remember, oh yeah, I am whole, I am complete, I am good, I am beautiful, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful. I am beautiful. Yes. Waking up to the innate beauty, goodness, spaciousness, wholeness. And from this place, you might even scan your body again, just seeing, well, is there any place, any other place that I can let go of? Do I need to hold on to my past or my angst or hatred or jealousy? I need to hold on to any of that? I don't think so. Probably not. So softening and opening. As again, I fully welcome you into this moment. I welcome you to Satsang. And so if you like, you can open your eyes, and if not, you can keep them closed. Either way, I want you to stay in this deep interior chamber of the heart, just being rooted here. Rooted here. Rooted. So tonight I'd like to speak about freedom. So here in the United States, we're going to have the 4th of July in I think a couple days. Some people might even be celebrating it tonight, depending upon how your town, your city runs things. But this country is founded on these principles of freedom. And if I look out at the world, all cultures crave freedom, desire freedom. And the ego, it looks at freedom as freedom to do whatever the heck I want to do. And, that's not the worst thing, but that's kind of the egoic view, is me being able to do whatever the heck I want to do, as long as it doesn't harm anyone. Now, spiritual freedom is a little bit deeper than that. But in a sense, even egoic freedom, like if we imagine God at the beginning of time saying, okay, here I am experiencing vast, spacious emptiness, and I'd like the freedom to be and to create and to love and to be loved, and how about the freedom to fail, the freedom to make mistakes, the freedom to grow and to evolve, the freedom to sing and to dance. And I had it's kind of funny, but I had some I'll just call them hippie friends come over to the house today, and they brought one of their kids over who was like 2 or 3. The kid didn't have any clothes on, he just like showed up at our house walking around naked, and a little 2 or 3 year old baby, and it's just like the freedom to just to be a hippie. The freedom just to experience what that's like what that's like, and be a little baby and just to run around to play and put everything in your mouth. So that's one level of freedom. No one wants to be in a cage. No one wants to be chained, of course. But spiritual freedom, like the felt sensation of spiritual freedom. I used to have this as a child, as I would just go out at night and just like something would just happen to my head, my consciousness. It just felt like my head would become the sky and I was no longer contained in a body. So the freedom to be vast and spacious and free. And for most of us, when we think of spiritual freedom, that's what we think of as awareness just opens up, becomes unhinged in every direction. So no door, no walls. And this experience, of course, is quite exquisite. Quite exquisite. And I was at the hot springs last night, and I had 2 friends that kind of came up. It was almost all tourists in the place. But then 2 friends said, "Hey, Craig." They looked at me and I was so blank, so empty. They started talking to me and they looked at me, and I was just, again, like, sometimes when there's so much freedom there, you just look like, well, there could be a lot of words to describe how I looked, but empty is a nice word. A lunatic would be another word. Just a fool would be, an even another word. And it's because, like, sometimes you're just so empty. And this is one of the reasons why people drink, because it kind of melts the walls, and people take substances because, again, it tends to melt the walls. But then there's, price to pay for that kind of thing with the body. And so this spiritual freedom, I love it. I love it. Just being ripped wide open, without a thought, without a care, without an ego to uphold. And again, I think my friends, they just kind of smile and laugh at me. They're just like, well, that's Craig, who knows what world he's in. Is what they're thinking. But to live in freedom is to live in reality. And there's all different forms of reality. There's egoic reality. Like, we could all get in a political reality real quick. I could start running my mouth and upset some people, and we could get in that kind of reality. But in the reality of freedom, everything is welcome. And this is, the reality of reality. Reality with a capital R. Is there is space here always for everything to be as it is. Last week, I think, there was a little bit of excitement in the news. There was kind of a little coup in Russia for a moment, and there's enough space for that to happen. In Canada, there's enough space for forest fires to happen. In my sky, there's enough space for some clouds to come and look like they're going to rain, but not rain. But not rain. And when we get in contact with vast, spacious reality, there's a quality of carefreeness about it. And when we're in our ego, there's not really much carefreeness. When we're in our ego, there's this person that we need to guard, that we need to defend. that we need to get upset with. We were at a Home Depot earlier today, and my wife greatly offended one of the workers there. He wasn't doing his job, and she was letting him know. She was letting him know. And like if someone lets us know, like, hey, you're not doing your job, if we're in a space of freedom, we might respond with, oh, geez, you're right. You're right. Like, I don't need to guard. I don't need to defend my position, my ego. Say, oh, geez, yeah, you caught me. Like, how can I help you? How can I help you? Oh, yeah, what do you need? What do you need? I have a little girl who tells me all day long what she needs. What she needs. Daddy, daddy, daddy. It's like, okay, what do you need, sweetie? What do you need? What do you need? And so this emptiness, it can respond from this greater place of intelligence, and we can be moved by it. And see, when we're free and we're not in our ego, we're not stuck in that mechanism and that programming, we can be quite fluid and quite flexible for whatever the moment needs. And maybe the moment needs nothing, and we rest. Like Ramana, he spent, I think like 14 years in a cave, just resting. And then at some point, someone came and got him and said, hey, we need you. We need you here on planet Earth. And at some point he said, okay. Okay. And like with the great sage Sri Aurobindo, life called upon him to be this brilliant mind. But it wasn't a brilliant mind where he was deeply thinking and he was doing all these things. He was empty, and then God called upon him and moved through him. And God moved through the mother. Through the mother, his spiritual partner, his partner in crime. And so the beautiful thing about being free is we can look at our own egoic nature and our wiring and say, geez, this is one choice, but let's see what else is out there, what else is possible. We can call upon this force of divinity to live through us, to act through us. And when this force of grace, this force of intelligence begins to move through you, even though you may be acting, you may be doing, it's really God who is doing. It's really God who is doing. You're just on the receiving end, and so it's very effortless, and so you still maintain a sense of freedom. But when we're in our egoic nature, and we tend, when we start doing again from ego, we tend to start to feel this feeling of freedom start to contract. It's one of the primary complaints that I hear from people as they say, well, I experienced freedom once, twice, maybe 100 times on retreat or whatever. And then afterwards, I had to go take care of my kids. Afterwards, I had to go fix my car. Afterwards, I had to pay the bills with an S. It's not just one bill. I had to go pay the bills and to do my taxes. But when we step into this space of freedom and openness, we don't just have to be, what some people have referred to as a stupid saint or stupid sage. We can invite the intelligence of God to live through us, to act through us, to respond through us. And then we can maintain the state of freedom. And some people don't even know that this is possible. They think that I'm either in ego or I'm in freedom. It's one or the other. I'm in love or I'm in the ego. I'm in love or I'm in the ego. But when we step into love, we see that love has an intelligence, and this intelligence can, again, move through us, act through us, speak through us. It can love through us. It can love through us. And the difference is, instead of efforting, is you feel as if you are being carried through life. Whereas again, part of the egoic prison is feels like I'm doing, I'm maintaining, I'm fighting, I'm striving, I need to overcome, I need to get to the next level, whatever it is. I need to fix, like that's a big thing. Sometimes in relationship, we try to fix each other. Some people have this idea, I need to fix myself before I can be in relationship, to hurry up and fix myself so I can find love. But when you step into love directly, you realize, oh, I'm perfect. I am whole. I am complete. And yes, of course, my human egoic nature can grow and evolve. But I'm also complete and whole just as I am, my essence. My essence. And so I don't need to go out and complete myself with another human being, because I see that what is here is good and whole and complete as it is. As it is. And then you might find that this wholeness wants to go out and love, not from a place of clinginess and neediness, but the natural expression of what you are. And so anyways, one of the things I wanted to share in relationship to being free is this teaching on taking total responsibility for one's life. Taking total responsibility for one's life. And even though a moment ago I said, well, like we're not going to be doing when we're living in the truth, one of the things the truth does, when we wake up to the truth, is the truth will take responsibility. You will take responsibility for your own life, for how you are feeling, for what you are experiencing, for how your life is. When we live in ego, so to flip the teaching around, when we live in ego, we tend to blame everyone for our life. I am the way I am because it's my mother's fault. She screwed me up, and that's why I have anxiety. That's why I have fear. That's why I can't figure myself out. That's why I can't express my gift in the world. It's my mother's fault. Or I think we're going to have an election sometime, aren't we? Like in a year or so. They're probably going to start getting geared up pretty soon. It's Biden's fault. It's all his fault that I can't get a job. Or it's Trump's fault. He ruined it. He screwed up the economy. It's Fauci's fault. He shut down my business and destroyed my life. It's COVID's fault. It's whoever's fault. Like, I don't know who blame. It's the Russians. Let's blame the Russians, huh? When we're in our ego, and if we're in a relationship, sometimes we just blame our partner for everything. It's their fault. They ruined my day, my week, my month. If they were different, if they only supported me, then I could start my website, my healing practice, and start sharing my gift in this world. But damn it, they don't support me, and so I have to be angry at them. And you know how it is. We can go on and on with this. But when we live in the truth, there's this funny thing that happens is we stop blaming. We stop blaming. We don't blame Biden. We don't blame Trump. We don't blame the man for, holding us down, or, whatever the man does. We're not blaming. We take responsibility for our life. We acknowledge, and part of taking responsibility is admitting the world is as it is. Like, we live in an evolutionary world, and it would be wonderful if the world was evolved, 100 eons into the future. But we're not there yet. We're still in a world where, people shoot each other with guns. And I think that they probably still, use those bayonet things where they shoot them and then stick the bayonet in and make sure they're dead. It's like, we live in a crazy world. A crazy world. A crazy world where, there still is this thing called racism. There still is a thing called genocide. There is still a thing called violence. And part of taking responsibility for our life is admitting, okay, the world is like this. This is where I'm at. This is the neighborhood I'm living in. This is life. This is my bank account. This is whatever. This is my mother. Maybe we don't even have a mother. Maybe she disappeared. This is my absent mother. This is my absent alcoholic father, whatever. This is what I've been dealt. And yet, despite that, I walk forward toward the light. Despite that, I choose to open my heart. Despite that, I call upon grace to move through me, to act through me, to love through me. To love through me. Despite it all, it's very hard to be free if we're blaming someone, anyone. Because as soon as we blame, we give our power away. And we step out of the flow of freedom. We step out of the realm of being an open conduit. We step into a realm of separation, where this person did this thing to me, it hurt me, and I am powerless. And again, that may be somewhat true. It may be 100% true in a human, personal, egocentric kind of way. So I'm a big fan of doing trauma work and healing and therapy and all that. So I don't want you to get the wrong message here. I spend most of my work week doing that type of work. But taking responsibility for our life, sometimes it simply means we stop blaming and start realizing, oh, if I'm going to heal, if my life is going to change, I need to open to love. I need to look at a different place within my consciousness besides my egoic nature to heal. I need to look somewhere else besides this thing that is so offended. And especially right now, it's like, it's in in style, in vogue. Is that how you say it? To be offended. To be offended. I hate, like, occasionally on my phone, I click and I look at the news. It says the Supreme Court is doing this, and I see like 6 news agencies are saying the Supreme Court is bad because they did something with affirmative action, something with women's right to choose, or whatever it is. And I don't know, so don't don't ask me. But I see it's just all this news. It's just written from this perspective of, like, we are victims and we are victims of the government, we're victims of the far right, we're victims of the far left, we're victims of somebody. And again, like there's a human truth to that. Like, you know, there's a guy named Sam Walton, and he has got a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah, like there's a guy named Bill Gates, ridiculous amount of money, and anyways, and he likes to play with vaccines for some reason, you know, and it's just, we can all be a victim. But if we live in the truth, there's some part of us that acknowledges it is what it is. And because it is what it is, because life is this way in this moment, now I am going to use my power. So this is where our freedom is. It's the freedom to choose how to respond to this crazy world we live in. How am I going to respond? Am I going to be in a reactive ego based upon the reactions that the news media is telling me? You know, like if I listen to CNN, I'm going to have this kind of reaction. I'm going to be angry at everyone who doesn't have 4 vaccines and their kids vaccinated and all this stuff. And if I'm listening to Fox, or maybe there's some other kind of news station, I'm going to be mad at the people with the lockdowns and the people who are still wearing masks and this type of thing. But when we are truly free, we are free from our media. We are free from our influences. We're free from these streams, you know, this divisive streams that come at us. We are free from that. And we can look at life clearly, and we can choose how to respond from the intelligence of our heart. Not from the intelligence or the unintelligence of CNN or the unintelligence of Fox. We choose to respond from this inherent wisdom, this bodhicitta, this prajna, this divine flow of divinity. And this wisdom is quite different from earthly thought, from human thought. It's quite different. It's not right and it's not left. It's not this and it's not that. It's an ever-present stream. It's an ever-present flow. And if we want to come into this flow, if we want to live from this flow, which sometimes shows up as love, sometimes shows up as compassion, sometimes shows up as a fierce directness. Sometimes it shows up as spaciousness and emptiness. Sometimes it shows up as this evolutionary impulse. If we want to come into this flow, we have to take responsibility for our life and stop giving our power away. Whether we give our power away through blame and victimhood, we give our power away through being ridiculously aggressive because our ego is scared and insecure, whether we give our power away to our addictions, the addiction of habit, the addiction of being like our mother or being like our father, or rebelling against them, or whatever it is. If we want to step into the truth, if we want to live in freedom, We have to take responsibility for our life, for our consciousness. Because many of us, we have our consciousness, the reason we're not awake is because our consciousness is in the gutter, literally. Literally. Our consciousness belongs to CNN or MSNBC, or our consciousness belongs to Dr. Fauci. And it's like, let us take our consciousness back. Sometimes our consciousness, like sometimes I'll catch myself, I'm like, oh my God, like my father, somehow he's managed to live through me in this moment. How is that possible? How is that possible? And it's possible because of epigenetics. You know, we have these wiring within us where the past just repeats itself. I'm like, oh, look, like, look at this. My father is living through me in this moment. And you see it and you smile. You smile and you say, okay, how about I begin again? How about I give this back to God? And I say, God, how about we try something new? We try something new. We try something new in this moment. We try something new. And that's the funny thing is when we have a sense of freedom, we can see our ego. We can say, oh my gosh, we can see how much of it is habit. How much of it is the past? How much of it is mom and dad? How much of it is, you know, our media influences? How much of it is our culture, our age, our gender, or whatever? Or whatever. We can look and we can see. Here are the places I'm privileged. Here are the places I'm biased. Here are the places I'm really confused. Here are the places I am a neurotic mess. Here are the places. But we are free enough to choose to say no to that which is untrue. And yes, to that which is truly intelligent, truly awake, truly loving and compassionate. Loving and compassionate. And so I'm going to encourage us all, you know, just to really look at this question of, am I willing? And why don't we play this? We'll just play around with inquiry for a minute or two. You can close your eyes again and you can ask your own self, am I willing to take total responsibility for my life? And just to notice like what that feels like inside. If there's any egoic reaction or reactivity, any part of our ego that's saying, no, that's not fair, that's not right. There's any part of us that says, I need my mother, my father, my partner to apologize before I'm willing to feel better. I need my children to be a certain way. And so I ask you again, are you willing to take total responsibility for your life, for your consciousness? Am I willing to take total responsibility for my life, no matter who is at fault? And there very well may be many people at fault for the way things are. But they're probably not going to do anything about it. They're probably not going to come to you and apologize and give us a check for the damages. They're probably not going to pay for our therapy. They're not going to pay for us to go on a retreat so we can open up and experience our divinity. And so I'll ask you, are you willing to take responsibility for your feelings, for the hurt in your egoic nature? for the heaviness in your heart. There's a good chance you've been a victim of many things, maybe crime, maybe just as a victim of heartache, victim of being ostracized, abandoned, wounded, greatly hurt. But I ask you, are you going to take responsibility for your own healing and the shifting of your consciousness? Are you going to take responsibility? For your own healing and the shifting of your consciousness into a space of freedom, into a space of truth? Are you willing to take responsibility for making yourself happy? Are you willing to take responsibility for your own happiness, your own joy? And so ultimately, I'm asking you, are you willing to take responsibility for the healing, the awakening, the clarity and the sanity of your own consciousness? One power that we actually have. Power to choose. That which is good, that which is true, that which is beautiful. A willingness to choose to live a life of peace, to live a life of love. To walk the path fully with an open heart. And so, okay, if anyone has a question, you can bring it forward. I just ask that your question is clear, concise, direct. If you emailed me a question, I do not have it. I have been absolutely terrible with emails the last couple months, so I apologize. If you want to put a question in the chat, you can. If you want to raise your hand, you can. Okay, let's hear from Terry. Hi, Terry, are you here?
Yeah, sorry. How are you? How is the Sangha? Hello, everybody.
Hello. And Terry, I'm gonna tell you this again.
Can you hear me?
You're pretty broken up. So maybe if you just say a quick
okay.
question, we can see if we can work.
Okay. Okay. Something really weird happened with a friend, and they judged me and my husband because we are not of the same political affiliation.
Yeah,
And
well, that's not weird right now. I think that's what most everyone's doing. Is most everyone's on their it's like a Super Bowl and they're on their sports team, and if you're not on their team, you're wrong. You need to burn in hell. You need to die.
We are not on any team. And that's a big problem for the people on a team.
Oh, so you're not even interested in the sport. And so, yeah. And so that's confusing. That's confusing. Normally they don't get so upset. Yeah. Sometimes they just get confused.
We have opinions, but we keep it to ourselves. We're very independent. We don't vote for parties and stuff. And so anyway, I don't want to get into that, but we were judged. We were invited to a party and then judged politically and then uninvited from the party because she wanted to protect her friends from the discord that
That's
we
right.
might bring, right?
That's right.
And she was like, but I'm not judging. And the things that she said were just so offensive and unconscious. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I realized this, and I mean, the thing is, I still love her, even though she was so
Mhm.
offensive. And I feel just sad and like, sad. I just feel there's a sadness and a hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to deal with that physically, the sensation,
Mhm.
because that's the way works best for
That
me
well,
is
that
just to feel the
that's the way,
sensation.
my dear. Like that's the way.
But
That's the
my
way. And so this
question,
is going on
my
in our country. It's going on in our world that, people will have, a political opinion. And again, I think it's just getting started with the election, whatever it is. And,
yeah,
so it's going to get worse over the next year or so, and people are going to get fired up. And you,
but,
but so if we start with just the teaching for tonight, the teaching was, can
well,
we be in a place of freedom? And so
my
part of being
question,
free is giving them permission
yes,
to be offensive or to be from the right or from the left. So let's start with that. So we're going to give them the freedom to be
yes,
as they
yes.
are. Okay, and then you said you have a clear question there?
My question is this, I mean, am I just attached? I want people to like me. It's what, I mean, do I need to know what it is? Can I
I
just
think, I
like,
mean, you might have just said the answer right there, that, we are attached to harmony. We're attached to people liking us. Maybe we're attached to, I don't know, having those friends and going to a party. But again, these
mhm,
aren't bad attachments. I mean, these are normal human attachments. But just the problem with any kind of attachment is our attachment will show us in our body what we're holding on to that is out of alignment with the truth. So basically, the truth is, our friend judged us because we didn't agree with them politically, and they weren't open and fluid enough, and they didn't feel secure enough just to have a conversation or just to let people talk. And so they felt like they need to be in their camp, they need to be in their tribe, and they don't want someone from
right.
another tribe or from a non-tribe, you know, at their house. They don't want to be challenged. And that's one of the things with tribalism is tribes don't like to be challenged, because when we're challenged, it's disruptive to our tribe. It's disruptive to the power dynamic in the room. You know, it's disruptive to people's egoic identities. And so some tribes are just say, I want to do business only with my tribe and no one else. No one else. And, if you're not in that tribe and you get kicked out of the tribe as a human being, like that's going to bring up some sadness. If we love our friends, if we miss them, if we wanted to connect with them, it's going to bring up some level of sadness. And that's just human. It's just human to see people be so divisive, especially when it's our friends.
Yeah. So I can just let go of that. Right. I can
Well,
just,
you're letting
I
go,
mean,
but part of the letting go is, like you said, is giving yourself permission to grieve.
right.
If it's
Okay.
just some normal person you meet at a gas station, it's like, whatever, I let go, no big deal, I don't care. But if it's our
Right.
friends, and like the way we free ourselves from attachment, well, we can get out our Buddhist sword of wisdom and we cut right through it, beautiful. But for most of us, we have to grieve. And it's through
Yeah.
the grieving that attachment is released. through it, just admitting, like, I'm human. I love my friend. This hurts. It
Okay.
hurts.
Okay. I was feeling that, like, I can't stop feeling what I feel. I should just be with it, right? And
You
just
be
let
with
it
it.
go.
And so this is a very powerful type of freedom, is the freedom to be with our human self, to acknowledge it, to allow it, and to allow your human self to take as long as it needs, with the grieving, with the letting go
Okay.
of whatever it is that's here. Whatever it is that's here. So anyways, good to see you, Terry. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm certain almost all of us will experience some of this in the coming election cycle. There'll be a friend of ours, a family member. And I mean, heck, I know all kinds of people who lost literally their family and relationships within their family, or parts of their family, because so-and-so wasn't vaccinated, or so-and-so demanded everyone get vaccinated, or so-and-so, did this or that, so-and-so voted for Trump, so-and-so. It's like, and families have been split apart. And what I'm going to invite for all of us is for us to be free, to accept that our friends, our family may have different views than us. And they may have different party affiliation. They may have different thoughts than us, but that we see their divinity first. And this is how we destroy tribalism, is you see the divinity of all human beings first, regardless of what our political party, and I hate to say this, but I'm just going to, but regardless of skin color and where the country they're from, or their ethnicity, or their gender, whatever it is, can we see the human being, the being? Can we see their heart? Can we see their divinity first? Can we love the innate goodness of each other, and see the other stuff, like the political stuff, is just static in the air, a dog barking in the distance? Sometimes our friends, get a little confused, get a little carried away, and maybe they just have thoughts that we don't understand, or we don't even know about. Like, sometimes it's just like, I don't even know what it is, like why they're so amped up about this. And maybe I should be amped up about it, but just to give them the freedom to be as they are, to be as they are. But in the meantime, we see their divinity despite their humanity, in addition to their humanity, or deeper than their humanity. So anyways, okay, a couple more questions. And I'm seeing it's late in the hour, so I better hurry up. Okay. Can we all practice some understanding, some openness, some willingness to listen? How about that? Willingness to listen. I started, a number of years ago. I was in one party, and then after listening to the other party, I was outraged, and I listened deeper, and I was like, oh my God, I actually like what they're saying. I started listening to my party, and I started disliking what they were saying. And now, I just, it's hard for me not to be independent. I've always been kind of independent, so I can't get stuck at a party. It's too restrictive, too many walls, so too many walls. Okay, let's hear from Catherine.
Hey everybody. I guess I'll just try and lay out the context quickly. So I've been talking to my mom again, trying to repair that relationship, and she calls me last night. And the last time I was with my mom in person was in 2018, and she was in really full-blown addiction because her mom had just died. And it was not good. And I kind of just ran away from that situation. And then so she called me and she's just like, hey, like I'm thinking about driving up to Seattle tomorrow. Like, what do you think? And I had been really present. I felt like I'd been really in my truth, in my heart, and on the phone in conversation. But just like when she talked about coming in person, like it's just, I realized like I had left my body like in 2018. And I just like, I don't think I could, I couldn't hold the spaciousness. And I was just like, I just started talking about, not in a tearing my mom down way, but I just talked about how angry I was about all of it and how all this responsibility.
So now help me out. Did you say this to her?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you told her how angry you were. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, and it was for a while, I was just crying and angry. And it was just about like, because I'm the only one in my family that still talks to everybody, like essentially. And
Yeah.
I've always been that person that just kind of like listened to everybody's story. And I think my family read it as betrayal because I wasn't picking a side. I just wanted people to kind of come together and to tell the truth. And I expressed that. And it's just kind of like, and I look out at my life, and when you're talking about this idea of responsibility, like I feel really confused around responsibility because I know what toxic responsibility feels like. Like, I guess if it's toxic, I don't even know. Like, I'm just confused, Greg.
Well, so taking responsibility would be acknowledging I'm hurting in relationship to my mom.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do my healing work. Not taking responsibility would be I need mom to come here and mom to heal me. And I need her to apologize, and I need her to pay, for whatever. I need her to be a certain way. I need her to change. And again, like she's probably not going to do these things. So taking responsibility is admitting I'm hurting. It doesn't mean like mom's off the hook or mom didn't do the things she did. We acknowledge like she did those things and it hurt and I'm hurting and no one's going to heal me. I'm going to heal me.
Oh, I'm
God's going
definitely
to
doing
heal
that.
me.
Yeah.
God's
Yeah.
going to heal. So that's what taking responsibility is, acknowledge, because some people, they don't do their healing work. And Catherine, like you're absolutely doing your healing work. So you're taking responsibility. But sometimes we press a pause button on our life and our healing journey. We say, nope, it's their fault. They did it. We just spend like 10 years being angry at the person. Meanwhile, like we probably, like if we took responsibility, we might have spent 3 years in therapy and then had 7 years of just freedom, from not having to carry that pain. And so that's kind of, that's what I'm speaking about here. And again, you're doing it. And I think what you're just acknowledging right now is, mom said she wanted to come, and, that felt like it's a little too much for my nervous system right now. And that's okay. And so taking responsibility is acknowledging, okay, like that's going to be too much for right now. And so I need to breathe and I need to relax and I need to take care of my body and get some space and hold my heart and, take good care of myself. And then after you do that for a little bit, you can again ask yourself the question, well, would I be open to mom coming? Because sometimes like we just have like this, just like a big weight on our chest. And just to think about the person coming, we're like, oh my God, like, no. But if we go and we like spend a day doing some healing work and we're like, okay, I could probably see my mom for 4 hours. For 4 hours, and maybe 3.5 would be better. But, like we might be able to see clearly and say like, I don't need her to come move in with me. But yeah, maybe I could have her come up for 4 hours, or maybe come up and have dinner and then maybe do lunch the next day and go on a walk and whatever. I'm not saying you should do any of that, but it's just like whatever you think is true. But I want it to be after you take some time and you really do some healing work, and then ask yourself the question again. Ask yourself, and you may just be maybe no before, and it may be no after, and it may just be, hey, like taking responsibility could mean, Mom, I love you, but I need a boundary right now, and or just now's not the good time, not a good time, and whatever it is, but I want you to feel into your truth. But we have to keep in mind that truth is different than an emotional reaction. Like a lot of people say, I'm going to speak my truth, and it's like, no, you're just speaking your emotions. Like that's not necessarily your truth. Those are just your emotions. The truth is what's under that. It's what's under that. And those two things may be very similar. Like the truth may be emotionally, you don't want it. And then from a true place, it's like, no, now it's not a good time. But a lot of times truth is a lot more the emotion is a lot more reactive and fiery than the truth. The truth might be like, hey, I love you, Mom. I could see you for dinner, but I don't know if I could do more than that. And I love you, and I'm sorry, but I am hurting.
Yeah, that's kind of where the conversation went.
Yeah. And so, anyways, well, beautiful, my dear. So you're doing the responsibility thing, Catherine. Like you're doing it. You're doing it. So you keep up the good work, my dear. Yeah, good to see you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Let's hear from Kyle.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, Kyle.
Hey. So my question is, I guess, about identity. Like the way that, like growing up, everything that I would focus on, I would want to be really good at that. I would like put 100% energy into that thing. And then
Why?
Because I believe that's what I was.
Because I believe that's what I was. I was the thing that I'm doing.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, like sports, like I am an athlete, like identify as like that.
Okay.
And then it just kind of progressed, like, during college, I wanted to be like a philosopher. And then, other things like eventually like with spirituality and awakening, like wanting to be good at that. And also little things like, should I do jujitsu? Because that could be something I attach to and build an identity around and things like that. But it's also just so heavy to like identify. It's exhausting.
So when you identify with the truth, I'll say it's weightless.
Yeah.
It's very light. It doesn't have that heaviness to it. But I will say this, and this will sound paradoxical, it will have an anchoring solidity. And out of that anchoring solidity, it'll be nourishing. Like as a tree is rooted in the earth and it's nourished by the earth. So when you're living in the truth, it's nourishing. Still may be, hard work, but it's nourishing. And to the degree that you give yourself to it, you become more and more nourished by it and less burdened by it. But if we give ourselves to an egoic identity, well, we can just spin ourselves into a whole story and be chasing something that's basically inherently not real. And so, was there a question in there somewhere, or is that enough?
I think like the practical question is like, when I want to start some activity like jujitsu, for example, part of me is like, oh, I want to be really good at it. Part of me is just like my heart wants to do that as well, but also there's a little fear around it as well. It's like, oh, this could be a new side of me that I don't know what that would be about, and things like that.
Well, so with those three options, I would encourage you just to follow your heart. Yeah. And so like when you follow your heart, when you do something new, like your heart lights up and it tends to smile. And again, like it tends to be nourishing. It tends to be a resonance there. It tends to be, especially if If you're doing something you want to do, it's going to be like that, almost like an excitement about it. And not just an emotional excitement, but more like a passion. But, you know, we live in a world in the modern age where we can do anything. You know, like I'm going to say something silly, but there was a time when like the yoga studio I was at, like it would be like, you know, yoga and chocolate, yoga and a beer, yoga and pole dancing. It's just like, what the hell are we doing here, guys? Like we like, I should say guys, it's probably mostly ladies. Like ladies, what are we doing here? Like, you know, there probably wasn't any guys at the pole dancing class, but it's like we can get excited and just kind of spin off in any direction. But if there's something true, like what stayed at the yoga studio was yoga, just yoga. We don't need to do yoga and a beer. We don't need like yoga and chocolate. Like if you go online, there's yoga and goats. It's like, okay, like, all right, that may be fun for a minute, but like, come on. What do we want? We want to come into a place and we want to open our heart, move the body a little bit. And so you have to feel what's true for you, and your heart will tell you what the truth is, because there'll just be this general sense of, I'm going to say, magnetism. Like me with jujitsu, I can't stay away. I just can't. I cannot stay away. Me with God, can't stay away. Can't stay away. You know, like me and my daughters, can't stay away. It's just like, I love my kids. It's effortless. Me and Doodles, love them so much. Can't stay away. So this is where I spend my time. This is where I spend my energy. And I don't have to think about it. And I'm not running some program like the program of good, like performance, like that's just the 3 program. And you and I have spoken about that. It's like 3s get their identity through being successful. But you see it like what 3 finds is like, I'm always chasing success. And at some point, the mature 3 says, that is exhausting. Like the 9 plays a, game of, I'm trying to make peace with everyone. And it's like someone in the last 2 questions said that, like, I'm trying to make peace. I just want everyone to like me. I want the world to be in harmony. It's just like, it can be exhausting if we're chasing peace. We're trying to make everyone peaceful. And at some point we have to see, like, yeah, we're not going to be successful at everything, but do I still like doing this? Like I'll say this, I'm not very good at jujitsu. Like I am not successful. I go and I get beat up all the time. Almost everyone, the guys are all bigger than me, at least 20 pounds. And a lot of them 40 pounds. And so I get beat up a lot, but I love it. So success is just a non-issue. It's a non-issue. For me, I just enjoy being in there. I enjoy the intensity. I enjoy the experience of it, the reality of it. That's what I enjoy, and that's why I'm there. And so, with you have to just look at, well, what is Kyle's truth? And again, like there's all kinds of things. Like I also love rock climbing. I love mountain biking. I love, like I have, like my friends came and invited me. They're like, hey, Craig, we're going to go, ride dirt bikes in the La Platas, yesterday. And I couldn't pull it off. There just wasn't that much excitement around it. It wasn't the truth for me in that moment. Do I love riding motorcycles? Sure. I saw a guy on a Ducati sport bike 2 hours ago. And it's like, I can get excited about that motorcycle. Like, wow, look at that beautiful bike. Look at him weaving in and out of traffic. Like, wow, I love riding a motorcycle really fast like that. But it's not necessarily the truth. It's not the truth for me. Not the truth for me. I'm not, 22 years old and I'm Tom Cruise in Top Gun. Like it's not not the truth. So I'm just going to let that go. I want to let it go. And so your question, my friend, is what is your truth? And you're not going to get that in your mind. You're going to get that in your heart. What makes my heart light up and continue to light up in an effortless way? And for a 3, we'll just throw in the shadow question there. Not dependent upon or despite, how I perform. Like, what is it that I naturally enjoy doing? And can I walk in that direction? Can I walk in that direction? Okay, my friend? Yeah, good to see you. Did you make it back to Durango, or where are you at?
Oh, I moved on the 5th.
You moved down to Durango on the 5th?
I moved to Durango on the 5th. Yeah. Okay,
beautiful. Beautiful. Well, welcome on the 5th. So,
thanks.
Kyle, good to see you.
See you too.
All right. Okay, and let's see here. We're talking to Jan or Don?
Hey, Craig. I know it's late. Real quick, just wanted to thank you. The talk on giving away your power was great. I have a flare-up every few months, probably since the 90s, of some dental pain. It was the worst it ever was this Friday, and it kind of was good all day. And around the middle of your talk, got really just like searing bad, right? So, and it's better now. And I know it's not an ultimate thing, but I just wanted to say it was just so perfect to watch the mind going like, oh my God, it's terrible. My blood pressure's up. I'd have to go to the ER. I'd have a stroke, and this shouldn't be. It's not fair, and I'm not human. I'm like, I should have the status of a divine being, and just sort of, yeah, it's like, okay, I got this pain. It's like, I'm hearing Catherine talk about her mother and Terry talking about the friends, and, I had something like that this weekend, and Kyle, the thing about, what should I do? What's my dharma? And it all feels like we're in the same energy. It feels like, like really feeling like, where do I give my power away?
Yeah.
And last thing is, it's so funny to feel this incredibly intense satsang energy, and it feels like it's like intensifying on the way to the retreat. So it's like I can blame you for my tooth pain. That's good.
Yeah.
So all you guys here, it's your fault. I'm in pain. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you all. I love you. Thank you.
Yeah, good to be with you, Don. Good to be with you. Yeah, it's a funny thing that the one who I blame for this world, at things being the way they are, I blame God. I blame God. Now, another word for blaming God is this is God's will. This is God's will. This is God's will. And again, if we want to live in a space of freedom, we have to get very, very comfortable, very intimate with God's will. Just knowing this is how it is because God has made it so. Made it so. Made it so. And that's a very confusing thing for a lot of people because often we think, well, there's bad things in this world. And so that must mean that God is bad or God is not fair and God doesn't love me or whatever it is. And again, like from an egoic perspective, we may be able to create a great argument for that. But when we step back far enough, we start to melt and merge into the mind of God, the will of God. We see that we stop complaining, stop comparing, stop fighting, stop blaming. We actually see the immense beauty of life in this evolutionary world. In this evolutionary world. And it takes a great being to open to this type of freedom. To be able to see from the evolutionary view of life, the vast view of life, that all is God, all is grace, all is growing, all is evolving. It may not be where you want it to be in this moment, but one day, one day, this earth will be a heaven realm. It's a great question. Are we going to be a part of this? Or are we going to be the ones, the curmudgeon, sitting and complaining the whole way, kicking and screaming and dragging our heels and being a part of the problem? Or are we going to open our hearts and give of ourselves? And so in the last couple minutes here, let's close our eyes and open more fully, inviting this grace to live through us, to act through us, to love through us, to speak through us, to heal through us in any and all moments. And so much love to each of you. Good to see you. Good night, everyone.